Here.
Ms. Ramsey? Ms. Miller? Here. Ms. Cantrell? Here. Mr. Newman? Mr. Chapin?
Here.
Ms. Powell? Here. Chairman Mayara?
Here.
At this point, I'd like to before we start anything, I just found out not long ago about Suzanne. So if it's possible, I guess all members, if they all agree, I'd like to hold a minute of silence for her, please, if it's possible. Is that okay with everybody?
Of course.
Is that okay with everybody? Sure. And we hope she feels better and, she's in the hand of God, so. Okay. Next, I'd like to. We have a former member who's here. I'd like to recognize him. I'd like to recognize Randall Phillips for his work, for all the years that he spent as a member of this board.
4 years go flying by.
Yeah, exactly. For me and for all the members and for the city of Daytona, I would like to recognize you and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Been a privilege.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next. At this point, I'd like to approve of the minute of the last meeting of January 11, 2017. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next thing I think we'd like to yes. Yes, that was just yes. I was just that was my next. I'd like this board and the public to recognize our new member, Amy Pyle. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
At least now you have more. Now we're here. Yeah, more instead of yeah. So it's a good. I think it's a good addition. At least she represents the residents, and I'm sure she's got a lot of support on that. So welcome to the board. And next item, I guess we're going to go to the election.
Yes.
The election of the chair and the vice chair. So,
I think at this time you take nominations. So someone has to nominate.
Is the chair able to?
yes.
You can go 2 years. He's served 1 year so far.
I'd like to nominate the chair.
Okay.
I second it.
Anybody has we got a motion, we got a second. Anybody else has anything to say? No? Motion passed. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you. Now for the vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion on that.
Please do.
I think it's really critical that we have, continue to have residents on the board, and with Suzanne not here for a while, and Amy so active in the neighborhood and bringing all the neighbors to this. Dino has been great at his position, but I think let's switch it one time and have Amy be the co-chair, and then possibly there'd be a better chance if Gilbert is not able to make it to a meeting, and she would be here to conduct the meeting, and it would bring all these neighbors back in and do all the discussion that they would like to do over time. So I nominate Amy.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion. Okay. Amy, as the vice chair, all in favor say aye.
I have a nomination.
Oh,
I'd like to nominate Dino.
okay. So we have one for Amy and one for Dino. I think in this case, the chair cannot vote, right? Yes.
You can vote.
I can vote, okay. So right now we have one for Dino Paspalakis and one for Amy Pyle. We have to, all of us vote for it?
Yes, you have to conduct the vote.
Okay.
You'll need a second.
You need
and
a
then-
second, okay. I got a motion for Dino. Do I have a second? Can I second it? Or, I
Yes,
think.
you can second it.
I can second, okay. I second it. I'm going to second. Now we got to go to, it's a split, so we got to go for a vote, okay. Okay, whatever, okay. Let's go to a vote, and whoever's in favor for Amy Pyle, say aye.
Aye.
So there's two. All in favor of Dino? All in favor of Dino, say aye.
Aye.
So, hold on.
You're gonna have to do show of hands at least.
Raise hands? No, right? Yeah. Okay. So I guess for everybody to know who's what. All in favor of Amy Pyle, please raise your hand. Okay. All in favor of Dino, please raise your hand. So we're 2-2.
Co-chairs.
3-3. Sorry, 3-3. Sorry, 3-3.
Co-chairs.
Are you a voting member?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, you're a voting member. The non-voting member
It's
is
the
not
planning board.
present.
From the planning board.
You
Okay.
used to sit there.
Yeah. So we have a tie, aren't we?
Why don't you continue the vote till the next meeting? We can get a majority.
Yeah, I don't know how you solve this at this point.
You'll need a motion. You'll need a motion to
continue. Dino be the acting co-chair until our next meeting. We have
Well, go ahead, Sue.
have another vote on vice chair.
Like you said, a motion. You need a motion
Okay.
for what you're asking.
Yeah.
I
think Dino, I know I
move
saw it.
that we continue with Dino as the co-chair until our next meeting, which time we'll have an election for the co-chair.
Okay, we have a motion to leave Dino as a co-chair until the next meeting, until there's an extra person to vote. Is that right? We have a motion. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Is there discussion?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead. Sure.
My question is, what is protocol? What are the rules on how this works? I mean, is this something that needs to be answered today, or what?
No.
What is there a protocol for it? Or okay, there's a tie. Is there a tiebreaker?
I'm sorry.
May I say something?
Yeah.
There's no need to stymie the meeting
No.
over this. I'll decline the nomination.
No.
for the-
Whatever all the members decide, whatever the members decide.
Okay.
I mean, you know,
Well, I'm willing to make that motion if it's going to move the board along.
I think the committee is able, or the board is able to make their own decision on this.
Yes.
This isn't something that's written in stone, so
Yeah.
that would be of interest, where we don't have a tie that then isn't resolved. We move it to the next meeting. Dino continues as the co-chair until the next meeting, at which time we have an election for the co-chair.
okay.
That's my motion.
Is that okay? Everybody's okay. All in favor of a motion to leave Dino as a co-chair until next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all not in favor, say no. Everybody in favor, so we have a motion. We leave that for the next meeting. Everybody's okay? All right. Now, we have, finally, we're going to get a police report. We have a police officer very nice guy, that's going to give us a full report.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Scott Lee. I'm the new District 2 commander or captain. The District 2 area, I'm sure everybody's familiar, but in case somebody's not, that's basically the railroad tracks to the ocean or to the beach. I replaced Captain Crochelle, who was the previous captain. She hasn't left. She didn't retire. She moved to the Criminal Investigations Division. She's still available if you guys need something from her. If it's something to do with the district, I'm the new point of contact. I'll leave some of my business cards right here on this table right here. So if anybody needs it, it has my email address on it, my cell phone number, and my office number if anybody needs to get a hold of me about any issues. I think I was asked to give you guys just a basic crime report, the year-to-date stats. So I'm going to go ahead and run through that real quick. It's very quick. It won't take too long. The district is down 8% overall. And I forgot the city one. I believe they were down 6% overall for the city right now. District 2, I'll go back to that, is down 8% for Part 1 crimes. That's year-to-date. So as of this year, or as of the beginning of the year to today's date, or actually till February 4th, compared to last year's date, same time frame. We're down 44% in auto theft. We are down 11% in burglaries. We're down 7% in larcenies. We are up 5% in aggravated assaults and batteries, which is technically just one incident, and 2 of those are still being investigated. In sexual batteries, we're down 50%, and we are currently down 6% in calls for service for the district, but that fluctuates throughout the year. In addition to those crime stats, our hot zone for this reporting period, this last 2 weeks, is 58 zone. 58 zone is the zone, and I'm blanking again on it, on the northern. In fact, if somebody has the map there, they could tell me what the northern limit is on 58 zone. It's the South City limits going north to about Cedar, I believe. Yeah. About Cedar. Is there any questions that the board has of me, or anything that I can help anybody with, or look into for anybody?
I would. What is your hot zone for the past 12 months?
For the past 12 months, well, typically for District 2, it does change every once in a while, but for the most part, it's usually 58 zone or 51 zone. 51 zone is the north on the peninsula side, northern city limits, all the way down till Riverview. That has not been a hot zone for a while. There was previous car brake issues up there that have not reappeared. So 58 is predominantly the zone that's most problematic, and it usually has a lot to do with larcenies as a whole.
And that's on the mainland.
58 is on the mainland.
It's on the mainland side. So
that's what we call. It's part of this. It's the southern part of what we call the Ridgewood corridor. So it's the tracks to the river. Mm-hmm. I think it's Cedar all the way south to the city limits.
Yeah, that's nice. Got it right there.
Any other further questions?
Any questions?
If you guys need anything, please reach out to me and let me know.
Well,
I'll be glad to help.
I want to say something. I want to thank you very much. For a long time, a lot of the members wanted to have, when Captain Newcomb was around, he was once in a while would come. But I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come, and I'm sure the members appreciate very much that you're coming by.
Well, it's no problem at all. I really believe in being involved in all the stuff going on in the community. It helps me stay plugged into what's going on and what's important to you guys. Okay. So I've already added this to my calendar. I'll be here every time you guys have a meeting. If I can't make it, I'm going to send somebody in my place, one of my lieutenants.
Personally,
okay?
I want to.
And there's business cards right here on the table, and if somebody needs more, just let me know. I'll get more.
Yeah. I want to thank you personally, and I'm sure all the board members say the same thing. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Now we go to the code staff report, please.
Yes. If we could, first of all, I'd like to invite up the head of what we call the Neighborhood Services, yes, and Hector Garcia.
Mr. Garcia, yes, please.
He runs the show, if you would.
Good evening, everyone. Hector Garcia, Neighborhood Services Division Manager. Long title, but break it short is I oversee code enforcement as well as animal control for the city and the rental program. Thank you for having me. Reed, thank you for inviting me. What I want to say is that after discussions, and Reed and I have had... You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We've had several discussions in regards to this. We will provide Reed with a monthly report, which you will all receive in your packets, and we will come and address the reports on a quarterly basis. Michael is here today, and this is something that we're doing along with the community meetings. We show up on a quarterly basis, and that's again because of staffing and budgetary reasons. You know, I got to pay this gentleman here overtime, and so we'll be coming.
I'm sure you do.
Anytime.
Overtime, I'm sure. Yes,
Anytime.
I'm sure.
But we'll be coming on a quarterly basis. Again, if there's any concerns, Michael's going to give you his email because he covers this area. His email, his office number. Send your concerns to him. What we're coming here to do is just basically give you a quick report so that you're aware of what is going on in the area.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Any questions for Mr. Garcia?
Is Mike going to come up and talk, or
Yes.
this is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Garcia. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
This is from December till now.
Thank you. I think we got
I'll
it.
pass them down if it's.
Thank, oh,
Do you want to hang on to one?
Yeah.
thank you, Michael.
In the redevelopment zone over here on the beach area, including Main Street and South Atlantic, you'll see how we've broken it down. The abandoned buildings total 5, Main Street area 3, South Atlantic 2. Lot clearances, Main Street 6, South Atlantic 1, for a total of 7. Maintenance code violations, a total of 34. Main Street has 29, South Atlantic has 5. No permits, working without a permit would be 6 in Main Street, 2 in South Atlantic. Occupational licenses were 4 in the Main Street redevelopment area. Parking issues were 1 in the Main Street area. Rental inspections, 23 in the Main Street area. Sign violation was 1 and a vehicle violation was 1. That's between December and now, for a total of 84 cases.
Any questions for Michael, please?
I have a question. The failure to license rental property, is there a reason why there's 38 at once? Is that because you do a yearly inspection of those things and they just all came up at one time?
The rental inspections were I've actually written people up for not having it.
Right, but they were all done on the same day. So is that like a yearly thing because you do an inspection every year, or is that like every couple of months you find that many? Just seems like there was a lot on 1 or 2 days. So I didn't know if that was concurrent with your regularly scheduled inspections of those properties or not.
We had
Like a
I'm sorry, I'm going to answer that. We had a particular and peculiar situation, and a certain company, individual owned a certain amount of property, so that's why you'll see that all in one day.
Gotcha.
That's not the norm. It's, the norm would be, and I'm just throwing a number out there, but on a normal basis, Michael would address maybe 2-3 houses within a month period, because we come to find out that they don't have a rental license, or however they have not renewed their rental license in that particular situation. This one here, where you're seeing all these in one day, again, looking at it now, it just triggered that this was one particular case that drew so much attention.
So pretty much all one owner on that one.
Correct.
Oh boy. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, the only reason,
You wouldn't.
the reason I asked is because I know that like a lot of these are probably a result of people calling things in. So I didn't know if that group was because of an inspection that you made, or like a sweep that you did, because occasionally you do sweeps. No. Thank you. That's it.
Michael, just a question. The last update on this list is when? When was the last update?
It was today.
Today. Okay.
As of today,
Great.
those are all the cases from December 1st
Okay.
to today.
Today. Okay.
Next time we come back, we'll give it to you from today to the date that we come back.
If I could.
Yeah, because I just.
uh,
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would say that some of the things we're seeing too, and just want to hear from you if this is the case. We've had from Hurricane Matthew some time to try to go through everything, and people needed some time, and you're trying to sort out what did the hurricane do versus what was already there.
Right.
And so as we're going back and dealing with the aftermath of the hurricane, we're also now getting to a point where the hurricane excuses are kind of coming to an end, and we're back to dealing with some of the code issues that might be outstanding.
Yes.
Is that the case? And I know when I'm looking at permits out there, that's when whether it's we haven't had a rental inspection or something else, and some of these code cases are starting to come up again, and we're seeing some inspections and saying, yeah, this is where we have some concerns with the building permit process. Somebody still pulls a roof permit, but you don't have a rental license. That's a red flag, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's the case. And then also realize, Reed just brought out a very good point, and I think the board members should be aware of this, as well as members that are in the audience, that on the Beachside and even on inland, there were some houses that sustained, some sustained a lot, some sustained minor, and when I say minor, maybe a fence down or something to that effect. And people are having difficulty finding contractors out there and all that. We are recognizing that, but some cases you'll see maybe a burst of cases of being open because we're getting complaints from either people in the neighborhood or whomever the case may be, and we're going out. But again, we have to also be cognizant of the fact of the contractors to be the ability to get them out there and do the work, and also we're trying to work with cases. Code enforcement is not a punitive action for the city. I want people to realize that, and I'll stress that every opportunity that I get. Code enforcement is voluntary compliance. We want the citizens to come into compliance on a voluntary basis, and if it means working with them and allowing them to take an extended period of time because of financial reasons or whatever, that's what we do. We try our best to get something done in an expeditious manner, if it can be done in an expeditious manner. But if it cannot, and we're working with when I say a young lady, it could be a young lady of 80 years old, and her financial means are $1,200 a month, we're going to work with her if she's progressively showing us something. Again, we don't go out there to drop the hammer and say, hey, hurry up and get this done, and if you don't, we're going to fine you. That's not what this is about.
I can vouch for that.
Okay.
I'll be the first one to vouch for what Mr. Berger just said about the hurricanes, about how hard it is to find the contractors, and I'm the first one to say, to vouch for exactly what you said. When the hurricane came, I'm sure everybody knows, 5 of my properties got hit. To try to find a contractor is almost impossible. But to pull the permits is not a problem, because all the properties that are damaged, the permits are on them. But it's hard to find a contractor. To get a contractor right now, it's double the amount that what a regular contractor charges. Believe me, I'm going through it, except now I found a local contractor. He's super loaded, but you can see that he's doing property by property on Beachside. And just by him doing one of my properties or 2 of my properties, he's getting 7 other jobs just from people calling him.
Right.
So I vouch for what you're saying. I'm the first one to say, yes, it is exactly the way you said. It's hard to find contractor. I know the city gave a lot of time for the hurricane, but it's still between the insurance companies and the contractors. As a matter of fact, just to give you an example, they're going to start on one of my roof right in the middle of race week. Right in the middle of race week, something that I cannot afford to do, but I have no choice.
Right.
Because we've been waiting for so long. So I commend you for what you said, and Mr. Berger, the same thing. Thank you. Thank you.
Reed recognizes that, and Reed works with us, and we're trying to do the best we can. I mean, simple cleanup, you know what, I'm about that. If you can clean it up, just make it presentable.
Right, of course.
I'm 100% with that. Yes, let's try to get that done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the things that, you know, I can stand here proudly and say my entire staff does that. Michael is one who does work with people. You know, there's times that I say to him, hey, you know, let's clamp down a little bit, but he does do an excellent job in that area.
Definitely. I think
in
the board
response
member
to
has
what
a
you're
question for
saying-
you, Mr. Garcia. The board member has
I
a-
have a question.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
lean a little bit harder on people, sorry. Do you lean a little bit harder on people that are investors in properties and it's not hurricane damage that is the problem? I see Michael's nodding his head, so that's
we
good.
had that gas station on the corner of International and Ridgewood, and he got no time. He was just do it.
We have a lot
It's an
that,
investor, and he needs to just step up.
And then realize, too, that that same investor, there's processes that go along the way. TRT, just to mention one, and other that they have to take necessary steps. So that sometimes slows the process down. As far as we go, and with the citing of the notice of violation and so forth, I mean, we will, the law says we have to give a reasonable amount of time.
but you
So what could
stay
be
right on
reasonable for
it.
you? Correct. What could be
Because-
reasonable for you may be different for Ms. Cantrell or for Mr. Mayara. But we're fair and consistent across the board. So it's normal 30 days. If within 30 days it hasn't, no work or no progress has been done, well then guess what? You're going to come before the magistrate or the code board, and you're going to explain why it took you 45 days to fill out a piece of paperwork to come in for a permit.
They have to come down and do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Really? Because some of the ones that I see that are violating the most in the neighborhood, I'm in that core area, are the investors are in Washington, D.C. and Canada.
Well, if they personally don't come, they have to send a representative on their behalf.
Okay.
Mr. Berger can attest to that because we have I think it's the gas station, correct? The real estate, somebody from the real estate company comes down or something to that effect. So, you know, we do make them come and give accountability.
So to be clear, we're talking about Hurricane Matthew damage, correct? The most recent hurricane?
Correct.
Okay, so how long is a reasonable time frame for someone who is an investor and not an elderly person fixing their house? How long is a reasonable time to expect a large, very visible property in the CRA to be brought up to community standards?
Again, it goes by, they're given a 30-day period of time. If within that 30-day period of time, and I think I've explained this in various meetings that you've attended, what the code process is. Code process is not just going like this and say, okay, you're going to come to court next week. We have a legal process that we have to follow. We have to make notification. It has to be turned through certified return receipt. When we get the green card, that's when the clock starts ticking.
Right.
So the green card could take 2 to 3 weeks. If it's out of the country, it's going to take longer because now we have to pay that international mailing rate and everything else. Once we get that back, then the process starts. You've got your 30 days. You've got to get in touch with the inspector. If you have not gotten in touch with the inspector or gotten in touch with a member of the city staff, now we send a notice of hearing. So then again, that notice of hearing is just like the first notice. So it could take anywhere between, on a bad case,
Right.
that's what you're referring to. Bad case scenario could take 90 days of just a notification. 90 days to 120 days, roughly 4 months, before we bring them here to a hearing. And then from there, they can come and, I don't have time, I need this, I didn't get proper notification. More time is given. Again, remember, voluntary compliance, that is what we are all about. And there's times that, yes, I'll tell Michael or Rita, say, we have to get them in here. Okay. But again, we have that legal process that we have to go through.
And the process is on E-Track it, correct? I mean, each time you have you have a hearing scheduled or whatever, are those things on there for a particular case? Right. So a particular case shouldn't be closed out until there's a. How would a case, say closed, or what would be the end result? Closed doesn't mean we gave up. It means we either the fine was capped
No.
out.
Inspection.
Right.
We
That's
don't
what I'm
give up.
asking. So
here's what happens. Again, bad case scenario.
what would close a case?
Maybe we need to enlighten the board at a different time, so I can give the entire code process. But again, there's steps, so they'll come into a hearing, and I'll just make this real brief and quick. They come in for a hearing, they get additional time. The additional time, they either come into compliance or they don't come into compliance. If they don't come into compliance, then it's another hearing. We bring them before that, and then a fine is levied upon the property. There's a maximum amount according to whatever, if it's commercial property, it goes according to the value. Okay? Once that lien has been placed on there, then that's out of code's hands, and then it's
Legal.
that we have to take a look into whatever the property's worth, if it's worth to try to foreclose on it, so forth and so on. So the process doesn't just stop. You're saying close. We don't close it out. You'll see something
Until
out there
it's
that'll
done,
say-
and then sometimes it'll say closed, but that means it was handled, is what I'm saying.
If it's
Right,
closed,
right.
it's because it's either in compliance, or rather.
It's in
not
compliance.
It's
In compliance.
Right.
When it's closed,
Okay.
it's in compliance.
And the reason I'm asking is
Or
not
if
to
somebody
harass
sells
anyone,
it.
but, I have a lot of people come to me and ask me questions about properties, and I know you might get a lot of calls on a particular property, and if I could direct people to e-track it, and they could say, oh, okay, I see what the process is, and kind of maybe
The
understand
step-by-step
what you're
process-
going through. Right.
Correct. The step-by-step process isn't going to be on e-tracking, but the case will be that if, for example, I'm just going to use an address, 150 South Coast. If they put that in there, they will be able to see, step one, case was opened by a complaint,
Right.
be it a citizen complaint, be it initiated by the inspector. That's step one. Step two, and it's all in the chronology of the case.
Yeah, I've seen
So
them.
there's some cases that you'll see that there's a gap. For example, maybe November, now it's February. Well, why was that gap? The gap was because that property owner lived in Australia. And by the time the mail got to Australia, and then it came back to us from November to February, that's when we ended up getting it. So there's that gap. So sometimes that gap can be misleading, but again, you have to look into it further. Again, we can't write long dissertations in these cases because when are they going to do the work? They will put in there enough work or enough information so that it refreshes their mind and they can continue on with their case.
And sometimes they get closed, they sold it, they change titles, they do a lot of things, close, and then have to reopen, and then it goes back on the list.
That's correct. That's the other thing. If
So
the
there's-
property was under Michael
It's
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
and somewhere along the line, I bought it.
Stops.
It's not registered in the property appraisers, but yet Michael Fitzgerald comes before the hearings and says, I just sold that property 2 months ago to Hector Garcia.
It stops right there.
Stop. And now
Start
we
over there.
reopen the case over
Brand new.
again because
That's-
I have to be notified.
That's one of the reasons
And we
why
have to give the
I
new owner time to see if he'll fix whatever's
Yeah.
necessary. We can't just write him up right away.
that's,
Make sure he's doing it.
that's one of the reasons I said, when is this up to date?
Yes.
Because as of 48 hours ago, a couple of properties on Main Street are changing hands.
Oh, see, that's going to be, that'll be
There's
closed.
open
And
cases on there.
They're changing
You gotta
hands.
close them and start all over.
Okay.
Right? We good?
Any more questions for the code enforcement? Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fitzgerald, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And just to, Amy, just to answer your question, when is the case closed? Is when they come in compliance. Then the case closed, or like he says, when it changes hands.
Thank you.
Next item on the thing is the development project update. Please, Mr. Berger.
Okay, if we could change the slide one. Do we have somebody back there? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Well, we have a couple projects we've talked about before that are in progress. Earl Street is now in process in terms of the survey work. So I don't know if the surveyors are out there yet, but you will be seeing some people doing survey work. And then once we have the survey done, then we can work in earnest to get the cost estimates, the engineering part of it, and know what we're dealing with the improvements along there. In the meantime, I want to report what I think is some good news is that there's some houses that are in there that have been considered, I think, some eyesores, and we have the church that is there on Halifax that has the Greek festival every year. We all know about, and they are looking at the block where they park many of the cars for that festival, and they are looking at taking down some houses in the area on that block that they own that are need to come down. They're in that kind of condition right now. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to see, if they're not down already, we've approved some demolition permits. There's two parcels. Yeah, exactly. One on Earl, one on Halifax, and so not Halifax, Peninsula. Yeah. So anyway, some changes there around Earl Street that is happening. I haven't heard anything else about the status of the church that is located there. And when I say the church, we're talking about the one that's been for sale for quite some time. I haven't seen that sale. Okay. Okay. Good. I'll check into that. Okay. We'll be interested in that one. Thank you. Okay. The Camp Street project, which begins at Grandview and ends at the ocean. The beach access portion, the city is actively now working with the county on that section between Ocean Ave and the beach. So they're working on what kind of design might occur there. We've had some initial design that we've looked at, and now we've got the county now involved, and so it looks like we'll at least have that part of it where they will help us get that done. When it comes to the section from there over to A1A and the crosswalk, there's more work to be done in terms of survey work in that section. When we get across and to the west of A1A, you have the Streamline. And so we're working closely with the Streamline Hotel in particular, because we're looking at improvements in the roads around there. They're substandard, and we're going to see what we can do with both the roads and the sidewalks to make that a much more walkable area. And ultimately, but not in this initial phase, we'll determine what we can do in a much narrower section that's between Coates and Grandview. That's going to be a little more difficult because of some of the property along there, and it's extremely narrow right now and difficult to work with unless there is property acquisition or something else happens. So we'll see what we can do with it, but we want to concentrate on those areas. We want to look at the A1A crossing itself. We think we can have that improved in terms of safety. We've talked to the DOT officials, so we hope we'll see perhaps something like the blinking lights too, that kind of recognize people are walking day and night across there, and we want as much visibility as possible. So Breakers Park, there is a environmental center. I don't know how premature I am in announcing this, but I think I have some volunteers even in the audience who we're in the initial stages. There's some things to work out in terms of schedules and timing, but there's an interest to take more volunteers. I don't know if anyone has that phone number. I was expecting to get that. I never got the number yet, but there is the facility itself at Breakers Park where the parking lot is, and it's open, so you can walk in there starting at 9 o'clock. The person that's now been employed to conduct environmental tours, answer questions, essentially serve as a welcome center. We'll be there from 10 to 3 at this time. But the office itself will be open from 9 until 5 o'clock. So we also have the E-Zone manager who's also co-located there, and he will be there probably most of the time between 9 and 5, and he is working on a number of projects in terms of more bathrooms out by the band shell, a concession area, and dealing with some of the storage. As you know, there's a lot of outside storage around the band shell. There's been some other good news. There was a successful application by Mr. Dino Paspalakis, not the gentleman to my left, but by another Dino Paspalakis, who's applied and gotten some money from Race and Rec for the sound system. This will be a sound system that will you probably know, Teresa.
I do know. Actually,
You might want to explain this if you know a little more than I do.
Sure, short synopsis. So there is a sound system that the city currently is not utilizing. There's probably about $70,000 worth of equipment kind of sitting there because about $20,000 worth of the equipment got ruined by just, the salt air and that kind of stuff. So the bandshell concerts have been being put on with basically borrowed equipment. And so we went before the Race and Rec Board to try and get the funding to get that $20,000 worth of equipment to help make that sound system go back to what we need it to be. And it was awarded to us, so we'll be purchasing that. One of the things that will help is if you've gone to the bandshell concerts, if you got there a little late or early but ended up in the back of the bandshell, you might not have heard it as well as you probably thought you should. And if you were in the front, you might have gotten blared really loudly. And part of that was because of the way the system is set up. So it will be set up differently and better to where it has, I don't know a lot about sound, but there's like this relay, delay kind of thing. So anyway, so you'll be able to hear it better. So all that new equipment will be purchased. And Suncoat Productions does all of the equipment and manages all the sound and sets it up. And if you've ever been there too, there's like these very long, we have the sound system out into the audience, and there'll be a tent covering it in case it rains, because it rains every Saturday. And hopefully we won't need that anymore. We can do it by just an iPad. And there's a lot of cords that go out there, and the city's had to purchase these huge, like, walkover things so people don't trip, and they're heavy. They're just extremely heavy. And so it's hard also if you're in a wheelchair or a walker that you're constantly having to step over these things. So anyway, that will all go away. So it should work out really good. We're excited about it.
Yeah, and that's the Friends of the Bandshell.
Yes.
That was the sponsor, and we'll on Fridays, I think you're going to allow the city to use that equipment.
Yeah, the equipment's for the city to use. Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Just getting that on the record.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're excited about
we only
that.
own 20,000 of it. So. We need the other part of it to work. So yes, it's for everyone to use.
Yeah, we're just excited to know that there'll be an incredible sound system and one that's synchronized and will get the sound to everyone in that area of the same quality. So in addition to that, kind of related to you is the Hilton, Teresa, the renovations.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is race week, and I think the desire was to get rooms open after the hurricanes and everything else. So how are you doing there?
Oh, good. The only rooms that we were closed 10 days after the hurricane. The only rooms that were really closed down were all the cabanas on the bottom floor, which is 30 of them. They're all being redone. They're not back yet. And then we were going to renovate anyway. So the renovations did start, and it wasn't necessarily rooms. It was the hallways, which means you have to take the rooms out of order. So we've gone through that process. That process has already been completed.
Wow.
And now we're doing meeting space. That was already a planned renovation. All these were planned renovations, so not hurricane related. And so that started on the South Tower, and now they're heading to the North Tower. So we've been kind of playing the game of one tower versus the next tower.
Good.
And then the pool deck area. So our whole entire pool deck area is being redone. And I don't know if anybody's been back on the back side of the Hilton, but that pool deck runs all the way from the south all the way to the North Tower. So all of that is all being redone, all resurfacing and everything getting redone. The stairway going down to the ground level is getting redone. And
I see that, and I've been taking a few tours through there. I completed one today. The jackhammers, it's amazing because it's the work that you've been doing inside and getting that all ready, and it's 24/7 work.
yeah.
And I think the last it was reported was about a $30 million renovation. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
know
at
where you-
liberty. I'm not privy. They don't tell me.
Well, I just know right now that's the last number I've heard, and but it's in a major investment, and it's really appreciated because that's only going to help everything over there on the beachside and drive that quality up. And
if you've seen a crane there, that's just the cooling tower on the roof.
Okay.
The crane's probably a 2-week process, but we're putting a new cooling tower to. Yeah, you know how that goes.
So, and my understanding is, and it's probably not that realistic, but somewhere around April 1, no fooling, most everything is going to get wrapped up at not only the Hilton, but also it looks like the parking garage for the Daytona Convention Hotel and Condominium Project, which is the garage, parking garage, is included in that. So the parking garage is just about done. The exterior, we're still going to have the horizontal slats on there that will create a better appearance. That was the approved appearance that would be on the side there, so it doesn't look like it does today. It will also be wrapped by some landscaping, palm trees all the way around. So it's still a work in process, but they're trying to get that all wrapped up and complete by before April 1. The other April 1 date is the Streamline Hotel, and a lot of work to complete that renovation. So there are people trying to reach some deadlines and get that all ready around that date. So, and they all seem like they're fairly aggressive at this point in terms of what I see out there and hitting that. So I'm cheering them on, but it's going to be tough.
It's good to see progress.
Yes.
It sure is.
It's good to see work.
Yeah, and we're also looking forward to the oceanfront park and getting that all renovated once the cranes are gone and all the equipment and everything else. So we're
Have your grass
looking
back.
forward to that. Yeah, we do have the cheerleaders coming back,
They'll take care of that grass for
and
us.
if anybody wants to see some incredible colors, when you watch the cheerleaders, I've stood up there in the Ocean Center and looked down, and it's just this incredible mosaic of colors, and I'm sure the same as if you're standing up in the Hilton and looking down at the park and at the boardwalk. It's an amazing sight.
Yeah, I think last year they put, if you weren't in the bandshell area, if you were outside the bandshell, they had put a big TV screen out there that came behind a trailer, so you could literally be in the grass, not even in the bandshell, and actually watch the competitions, which is pretty impressive.
Giant screen.
It's fun.
And so I think the last thing is to go back to the Proto Group and say that in 2.5 years we expect to see a new hotel, and shortly after that the condominium towers. Both permits were pulled for the towers, so that is now at the stage where they can begin the site work and the foundations. So that's a big deal. That's a big change we haven't seen, and they're out there right now working on the setup. So this week you'll see the beginning of those changes. Okay. And the last thing that I need to report is that the East ISB proposal is being presented in an open house format by FDOT, and that will occur at 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. That's Thursday, February the 9th, at the Peninsula Club. So you're all invited to drop in and look at the plans that FDOT has put together. And I'm going to be right there with you because I need to see what those look like too. I'm kind of curious what they've come up with.
That's it, Mr. Reed.
That's it.
Thank you very much. We're going to go public comments. If anybody has any comments to make, it's possible to fill up these forms. You just hand them to the lady. She'll be able to put them, and then everybody will have a chance to speak. Since we lost our referee, let's Ann Ruby, please. You're on the podium.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I'm here tonight from Citizens for Responsible Development with a little bit of an update. We have a website now you can go to. It's fledgling, www.c4rddaytona.com. On there you'll find, we finished our inventory of Main Street from A1A to the cemetery, and we did the south side. And there's a collection of pictures up there kind of by areas of concern categorized. And I think there's a few that really stand out to me. One is the tattered American flags. There's flags there that are just shredded, that it's kind of disgraceful. The other are just the dangling electrical cords, not like even indoor-outdoor electrical cords, like the kind you use when you want to overload a circuit with your iron. It's like kind of disgraceful. They're just hanging off facades all over the place. And then the other was the planters. Like the planters were full of garbage, and then they got cleaned out, and then now they've been planted, which is nice, but the plantings, the type of plants they've been planted with, it looks like they're not going to last. So I hope over this next month to identify some native plants that could be put in there that could be sustainable, so that we're not always replanting those. Because some of them even look like they're dying and they're just new. So that's kind of where we are today. The next step for us is to identify property owners who would be willing to work with us to kind of just do some interim things to make things be better, the street more exciting. We have a couple of ideas out there. So I'm interested to know if you want to share after the meeting any properties that are changing hands so we can have an up-to-date list.
Okay. You're working on Main Street right now?
Main Street, yeah. But from A1A to the, just to the,
yeah, from the court. I don't have any properties on Main Street. I sold my last two last year.
Okay.
But I'll be glad to put you in touch with any of the property owners.
Okay.
I can tell you that in the next couple of weeks, it's
Yep.
going to be very hard because everybody's getting ready for their main event, is
Right.
the bike week. So
Right.
everybody's trying. But I can tell you that some of the properties are changing hands
Okay.
as of 48 hours. I don't want to
Right.
let the cat out of the bag, but I already said, but there is some properties are changing
Okay.
hands. I can tell you that some of the property owners on Main Street, I talked to them. I told them that, listen, something needs to be done for either the stores to be open all year round or to change the look. I made some comments about the flags, and you're right, about the American flags. I'm going to tell you what some of the property owners on Main Street, and everybody wants to be open all year round, except there's not enough crowd going on Main Street.
Right.
So, I suggested something, but it's not up to me. It's up to the Main Street group. Them. I have a property on the corner of Main Street, but I don't get involved in that board. What I suggested for them is to have more not only block parties, but to open the area, to have more people, instead of only having it like now I think they have it every couple of Saturday nights, or they block parties, but everybody would love to have business all year round.
Right.
But, and you see it, you know it, that after Bike Week, that thing goes
Right.
completely dead. So a lot of the property owners are open to suggestions. They're willing to help. The ones that the properties are falling apart, some of those are changing hands. I met one of the not the new owner, but it hasn't done the closing yet. And, he asked me my opinion, my suggestion. I said, the best thing to do is, if you're going to operate the business, good. If you don't, whoever the renter, please have them at least open all year round. And we saw it with the place, the corner that opened and put the big American flag on the thing. Graffiti Junction. I can tell you, the group that came in and opened that store, it's not Graffiti Junction. It's a man and a woman that bought the name from the company out of Orlando. And they came here, they got into it, and the lady left, and she left the place. And you can see it is. And then I went down there, I suggested something to the owners. I told to the owners, listen, but I think there's some changes on Main Street. I can't talk about it, but I think the residents will be happy, the change of hands. And hopefully that the new owners will be more proactive than the old owners. You're very welcome.
One of the ideas I have is just put even more, if the business owner doesn't want to stay open year round, if instead of plastering their windows with posters, if we could get local artists to if we could get the person, whoever is occupying or owning the property, to just agree to let us put artistic displays, we could, I have kind of a elaborate scheme in my mind. It would be like, we have this parachute company out in the lake, okay? And I think maybe we could get parachute campers from them. We could build portable stands that would be able to hold artwork. So you could build a stand in front of a window, so they could have their inventory back there. It would have to be climate controlled so that it wouldn't get all moldy. But then you could maybe get artists to hang their work so that even instead of walking down the street and just seeing posters or Venetian blinds that are closed, you could see art from the street.
No.
Like just little things like that. Like, yes, it would be ideal. We could put some charming shops in there and have them be open year round. And that's the long-term goal. But in the interim, maybe the street could look a little better.
I know the time is up, but I just want to let you know one thing. Most of the property owners on Main Street that I talked to, I said that any group came to see you and talk to you, out of 5, they all said no. Out of 5 property owners, one owns 2 or 3, and nobody approached them for good ideas like this. These are good ideas.
Well, that's our next goal, is to identify property owners.
I'm telling you, it's a good idea. If I had a Main Street store that was not open all year round, I'll be glad to do that. It works both ways.
Right.
But right. I'm telling you, the property owners on Main Street are. I asked them. I said, anybody came to see you guys, to talk to you guys about? Nobody.
Well, we'll be in touch with them.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, we got somebody else. Not a problem. Jenny Nazak. There you go. Just before, I apologize. I let it run out the time and all that, but I like the ideas. That's why I let it run out the time. Thank you.
I'm Jenny Nazak, 413 Harvey. I think the art idea is fantastic because I'm actually informal. I'm an off-season manager of a shop on Main Street that's open year-round. We do sewing, and people come from the hotels and they kind of start to say, "What is on Main Street?" And then their interest kind of peters out. But if they started seeing windows with art in them, that could be pretty cool. Another idea I had is pop-up shops. So in the off-season, there could be a shop open for a month or 3 months. Like a lot of cities have temporarily occupied storefronts. And it's a way for a business to, like, 1 month it's a clothing shop. And then the next month, all of a sudden, it's like jars of jam or something. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get. And that could be like this exciting feature, like what's going to be on Main Street this month in Daytona Beach. It could be interesting. So just lots of neat ideas.
Interesting.
And also that American flag that's on the side of the old Graffiti Junction, I'd like to see more attractive murals on Main Street. Like maybe the laundromat could have a Sudsy mural or something on it. That would be kind of neat. So
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We'll pass to the board member comment. Amy, we'll start with you.
Thank you. If I start to cough, I'm just going to turn my mic off and move on. I want to say a word about C4RD and how I am a member of that group, but I don't participate as much as Ann and Sandy and Linda just because of time constraints. But I really do support what they're doing as kind of augmenting this board really isn't in a position to do anything except vote on large projects and architectural things and murals and stuff. But it's a great forum for somebody like that to come up and throw out some ideas and for people to connect to make things happen. But as a new board member, I thought I'm not going to do this every time, but I wrote down a whole lot of things that I wanted to mention. It's from my ascertainment, it might be a few minutes worth, but the reason I'm doing it is because the people that spoke up on my behalf would like to hear some of the ideas that I have that I'm bringing to this board. So I'm just going to run through this. So if you would, may I?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, it's just this much. I'd like to thank all the people who spoke or emailed their support to have me appointed to this board. It was very humbling. The purpose of a citizen advisory board like this is to, according to the Daytona Beach documents, or something that I was given that I'm not sure where I got it, but somebody from the city sent it to me. It's to assure that actions taken by the city are not only in the best interest of the city, but also have the support and input of its citizens, which is my intention. The Main Street and South Atlantic redevelopment plans are brimming with redevelopment ideas. I'd like to see some of the smaller ideas receiving funding and attention. The CRA wins when property values and thus the tax base increase. And here are a couple of ways that we can see progress. Even though small projects don't require a vote, this is a wonderful forum to present small wins, such as new businesses opening in existing buildings, refurbishing of blighted buildings, or progress on ordinance changes to improve redevelopment prospects. I would encourage Mr. Berger to bring those to our attention, as he is, as well as citizens during public comment. Regarding code enforcement, citizens can help by reporting. If you don't report a violation, it may never be noticed, and you heard Hector mention that very thing. However, I think our city commission should insist on the following from our city manager and neighborhood services department. Just three points. Number one, we have to insist upon adherence to community standards within the CRA, more so than is happening right now. If neighborhood services are short-staffed, they're going to have to prioritize by level of impact and pick. They can't just go in order of the date. They need to look at something and say, this is going to have a huge impact on the tax base in the CRA. Let's work on that. And eliminate the worst or most visible offenders first. Another point, it's unfair not to expend some of the CRA funds on the neighborhoods that are within the CRA, the residential neighborhoods. Just like prioritizing the most visible blight, improving streets and sidewalks within the neighborhoods will increase the tax base, and then the CRA funds go up, right? Start with messy corners and large properties, the most visible things. Get those light poles cleaned up, please. I've spoken with David Waller, but I feel like I'm over emailing him. But AT&T and Spectrum have to have their feet held to the flame to come, and there are wires dangling, and it's not just from the hurricane. They're just dangling where, there was a 6-unit apartment building, and the cables are still just kind of wound up, and every now and then they fall down, and they come and they hang them back up, and there's nothing on that pole but cables to nowhere. That would be a huge thing for the neighborhood. And the old poles, they went through and replaced a lot of the poles, and the Florida Power has brand new lines on them, but AT&T and Spectrum have not come in and moved their lines to the new pole. So we have this ugly old pole standing here with a brand new one like that all over the neighborhood. It's crazy. So I don't know if there's a phone call or someone that we can pressure on that. We, meaning Reed, I guess. And then the Surfside Village flags, sir, are, I saw them in your pamphlet what they used to look like, but I've never actually seen them in color. They've been bleached out in white ever since I moved into my neighborhood.
Right. Could I jump in on that one?
Yes.
We're in process of getting the replacements with the banners. We've got a new. We just revised and updated a contract with banners, so that I have somebody to go to, and I can actually get those banners.
Where would the banners?
replaced.
What are the banners?
We're talking about the Surfside banners.
Okay.
That
you mean the
that
little
are faded.
ones that hang off the flagpole?
Yes.
That's what that. Okay,
Yes,
I
it's
call them flags. Little.
Yeah. Those are the banners, and those are the ones that we're missing some on our decorative light poles.
Right.
And they just got to get replaced. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, Main Street, Ann said excellent things. I'd love to see progress on that on Main Street, and I just wanted to let you know a few of my thoughts on it. Small improvements to stimulate growth. I am having a conversation with Kelly White about the signage ordinance that Reed and I talked about, because on Beach Street and in other cities they seem to have just better looking signs on buildings and a little more cohesiveness. So apparently on Beach Street there's special ordinance for signs that they adhere to down there that they don't have on Main Street. And am I correct in that from
It's
our
a much
conversation?
more detailed set of standards that
For downtown.
complement the land development code that's used.
Gotcha. I'd love to see that on Main Street, and I think all of us would. Please, can we look into replacing the information kiosk that stands at A1A and Main Street? We've heard this before. It's got posters from 2015. It's ugly. It's dirty. It's got stickers all over it. And when I walk into the ground floor down here and I walk past those offices, there are beautiful posters of what's current at the Peabody and all these other things in the windows. That's what needs to go in that. And somebody has to be responsible to maintain it. And if not, I could probably find someone in the neighborhood and appoint them, myself included, to kind of look after that. Because as Jenny said, or Ann said, when whoever it was that said that when tourists come onto Main Street, they get disinterested really quickly because they see something like that and it looks like there can't be anything else down that street. So
I'll check in with Cultural Services. They're the ones with the nice posters, and see if we can't get that
all right, paint it or dress
corrected.
it up a little bit.
Yep.
I'm going to save this stuff for another time. I want to talk about Bike Week, but we don't have to talk about that right now. A couple of specific questions that you don't have to answer tonight, Mr. Berger, but I'd like to maybe talk about at another meeting. The city, regarding the redevelopment requirement that the city assembles, and I'm quoting from the redevelopment pages in the LDC, properties where conditions prevent proper development, which means you're assembling a parcel that would be better than the pieces by themselves. I wonder if you can provide a map, or are we just looking at the E-zone map, or can you provide a map at our next meeting that would outline where the city would like to purchase properties? Because looking at that helped me understand why you wanted to buy that parking lot and that other little piece. Now I kind of see what you're going for on Grandview from Harvey to Main Street. I mean, I'm not saying I like it or anything, but but I'm a little more clear on what that is. But I wonder if you can outline where you are wanting to purchase large or small pieces of property to assemble into larger pieces for us. If that, that can be at a next meeting. I have some questions about that. And then lastly, I don't know where to find standards for paint color when large buildings are painted, or even homes are painted. We've had this discussion because somebody wanted to paint, a Halloween pumpkin orange on a large building in my neighborhood, and you ran right out there and made them change it. So where are these? What are the requirements for these colors? And then is it something that we report if we see something, or do we really care? Because there's some kind of ugly things going on that just in the interest of dotting I's and crossing T's.
We are the color police, so okay. You know it when you see it, and there is some intensity that is used. We don't use a standard color chart, but what we use is a definition that we use in other areas in terms of, well, you want pastels and you don't want it to be bland.
Right.
So if it's a historic structure, you're going to look at that differently. Beach towns typically have some color to them, and you don't want to deny that, but you can't have a high intensive or fluorescent or that kind of color.
Okay.
You don't want polka dots. So
Well, I agree
that's
with-
the kind of thing we're dealing with, or multiple colors that clash.
I think colors are great.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of buildings painted in browns and beiges and like
Right.
Band-Aid colors. Right. I call it, different like a range of ethnic Band-Aid colors. It's like, and so I'm wondering if there's anything in there. I just wondered if like Key West colors or maybe not something that crazy, a little less intense, but do we encourage beachy colors? I guess is all I'm saying. Anywhere.
We don't encourage it. We just try to stay within some reasonable color scheme, and we ask that to be presented to us prior to painting.
Okay. Well, that's it, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Suzanne?
I just have a couple of comments. I was really happy when we had the police report and the code report
Yes.
a few meetings ago, and now that we actually have them here reporting like they do at one of the other redevelopment meetings, I think that's great. I think it will maybe pull in more residents to come so they can hear that and they can find out what's going on, and that's important because the residents, the one who walks those streets all the time, they're the ones that probably have some really good ideas on what to do to improve and what needs to be done. So it's great that we had the reports in the past, and it's really terrific that we have the people coming in and talking to them. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that one thing that was brought up more than once, and it's good to know, is if there's a code violation or something you think is violating code, it's good that you point it out, because if you don't point it out, somebody else probably didn't see it, and it may not be addressed. So we had 84 in a certain period of time, and some of them were not like anything that was, so I know that I tend to hear that frustration from people a lot, and now that they're here, it sounds like they're pretty on top of their game, and so I think that if we bring it up, then it will be addressed. So, and if not, you can come here and talk to him personally. So.
Thank you. Dino?
I got a question for you. What about the reward on the 2 restaurants in between ISB and International?
I have no update other than to say we had the initial plan submitted, but we haven't had an update review of return. There hasn't been any other documents returned to us. That's correct.
Did it sound like it's dead, or did
No,
it take them a while?
they're I think just working on some other projects right now, and they'll get back to us. So probably one I need to make a phone call and just find out where they're at, because I'm curious too. Yeah.
Thank you, Dino. I have a couple of questions for the captain. Mr. Berger mentioned that the Breakers Park is going to get some attention. Captain, I can tell you that lately on Ocean Avenue, and I'm sure your officers have been telling you, there's some issues.
Can you be more specific?
Absolutely. Listen, you got the same gang that walked from Starbucks all the way down to Main Street, back and forth, and they get trespassed by every property owner.
Mm-hmm.
They get into it with 7-Eleven. I'm sure you heard. We know what's been going on in the past few days. There's been a lot of drug deals on the streets. And it's not only one of my businesses that caught them on camera, but there's a lot of activities now. With Mr. Berger saying that the cheerleaders are coming in, the Breakers Park, the Hilton is getting some facelift and all that. What I'd like to see, or I'd like to ask you is, and I'm sure you were here when the Boardwalk unit was around,
Yes.
And you remember that?
I was on the boardwalk.
I met that with Larry, and that's why I did. I know exactly. And is it possible to go back to that system?
Well, what we've done is we've taken. You guys know we stopped a boardwalk unit, and in place of that, we put a bicycle unit.
Yeah.
And the purpose behind that is to be able to take care of multiple areas within the district. Now, what we found in the year of doing that is that really, starting now all the way through to like Labor Day, their primary focus becomes the boardwalk and that area around it. On the weekends, they do later in the evening after the boardwalk calms down, starts to close up. They shift and help out with sea breeze too. But their primary focus from kind of going from this point forward for speed weeks all the way through Labor Day is going to be that area around the boardwalk, the pier, Breakers Park, Ocean Avenue, and all that. And part of it is what you just talked about here. Now, what we did in the past and what we did last summer that was effective is we were utilizing our bicycle units and other officers from the patrol shifts to conduct operations where we were using surveillance to target or to identify the people who were out there committing the small crimes in the area that are a nuisance to the visitors, meaning the people who are constantly aggressively panhandling or accosting people as they come off the pier. Those types of the people the individuals that have been warned over and over and over again about the alcohol violations. Those are the ones we're trying to identify and address those problems by effecting arrests. You know, if it's somebody, and all the bicycle units know this, if it's somebody you know that you see every day, and you've already told them you can't drink beer out here in the street, then you need to take action and effect an arrest. And that's their mission, and they're going to stay on that task, like I said, from speed weeks all the way through till Labor Day. In addition to that, going forward for Bike Week, we had a presence 24 hours last year on Bike Week on the boardwalk. To me, it wasn't quite as effective. It was effective in having a presence, but it wasn't as effective in setting the tone early in that as the year started to pick up. So what we've done is we've added for Bike Week, we've added two of them will be split part of the way between Beach Street and part of the way between the boardwalk, depending on what the crowd is at the time. An additional person has been assigned with our 4 bike units down to the boardwalk to address just those complaints that you're talking about, the constant nuisance people who are mixing in the crowd, the criminal element that gets in the crowd and takes advantage of people, commits these purse snatchings and things like that in the past. So we'll be using plain clothes components with uniform components to be able to effectively combat that.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I know you had this thing going on a couple of weeks ago over there. The reason I'm saying this because I'm sure the Hilton, and I talked to a lot of the businesses around the area. I would say from the barbecue place all the way down to Speedway, and they seem to everybody has the same thing. They're policing their own property because there's less and less officer on the streets, because they're concentrated on a certain area. I've been telling them that we've been seeing them on Segways, we've been seeing them on bicycles, but like you said, you know what's coming up.
And the other thing I didn't mention is that going forward too is that the sheriff's office is going to assist us in assigning a deputy. At least it's going to start out at least probably Fridays and Saturdays for a 6-hour period. During those the peak times, and they're going to assist those bike units that are down there too. So as you can see, we're kind of starting to beef up having a presence down there because, and you really hit it on the head right at the beginning. We had a boardwalk unit. It was necessary. We were trying to spread that out to many places because of staffing issues. We've become really good at doing more with less, and what we realized in that year, what we learned is that there has to be, at least out of a good chunk of the year, a very good focus on, and it's when we say boardwalk area, it's not really just the boardwalk. It's that area from really about Coates all the way over to the beach, and they work that whole area from Speedway Well, actually, they even get down to Sunsplash Park some of the times during the day too. So Sunsplash all the way up to Seabreeze.
See, it's pretty sad. I mean, like I said, the boardwalk unit, that it was a big problem before. You guys, we know the boardwalk unit cleaned that out because of budget. It's pretty sad when the business people say, listen, even the bums, they know when the officer
Yes.
comes in. And they come in when there's a shift change.
Right.
That's pretty sad.
So,
You know-
what we do is we try to adapt, and
Yeah.
and they're continuously adapting to us. And,
Absolutely.
You know, as I'm sure you guys have heard Chitwood said many times before, we have to get it right every time, and they only got to get it right one
once.
time. Yeah. So
And the reason why I say this, Captain, because Mr. Berger said we have the cheerleaders coming up. There's the new business, the slingshot with the, I don't want to say the name of the other ride, but there's going to be a lot of activities over there. And you know how much bad things happen around that area. I got most of the property owner to accept zero tolerance on a trespass.
yeah, and we appreciate that because that can create problems if
I
everybody's
got
not
you.
on board.
I got you. Everybody. I don't think there's one from Papa John's, from Hog Heaven. There's not one property owner that either did not sign the paper or did not put their own signs. So whatever police department needs from the business people or the residents, whatever, you know, we're all here to work together.
Right.
And that's why the boardwalk unit was so successful on the previous years. I would like, if it's possible, especially for now, because listen, race week is coming up, and you know where it's going to be busy. We know where it's going to be busy. And we average 3 to 5 calls a day to the police department. So I told the employees, stop, 7-Eleven, stop. You can't call the police department because they're all busy somewhere else. So now we're policing our own properties, but sometimes it gets out of hand.
Well, we don't want you guys to stop calling us.
Yeah, but-
we prioritize calls, and I appreciate where you're coming from when you say that. But we're putting resources down there, and we're doing things to try to combat these problems. One of the things we're looking at is a new camera system in that area around the park, and that camera system is going to be much more inclusive.
I volunteer all my properties for cameras, my
Yeah.
friend. I
Well,
believe
this
in
is on
that.
the city property for
Okay.
the city lot, Breakers Park, and all that, and it's
Not a
going to be a
problem.
much more inclusive viewing area than we currently have under our camera system. It's going to be tied into our real-time crime center. We're going to attempt to set it up to where it's being monitored on a more regular basis so that they can communicate with those bike units too and say, hey, that guy that's been down there every week causing a problem, he's right down there by the city lot now, and he's walking up to people who are trying to put money in the meter.
Because all you got to do is like the city property, the parking, right? You go there 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they all line up next to the fence sleeping. They're all sleeping. As soon 9 o'clock comes in when the new games come up, the construction guys, as soon as they show up, you have 20 people coming out of everywhere, sleeping all over the place, and that they go towards the boardwalk, and then they know when the police officer is not on the boardwalk, then they come back certain area, and then they go back on A1A. So listen,
very
you've been
much a
around
game.
long enough. You've been
Yeah.
around long enough. You know what I'm talking about.
This is what I would say. I'm the type of person who likes to drill right into a problem. So if you guys have something, I left my business cards here. If you see something a day from now, a month from now, a week from now, whatever you need, please call me. And what I will do is, if we don't have resources already there to deal with it, I will redirect resources to address the problem. Those guys are assigned to a shift, but know that they work under the direction of me. So part of their job is to do those types of things. They're to handle problematic areas, problems that arise.
And the reason I mentioned the cheerleaders, you know what happened previous years with the cheerleaders.
Yes.
So, listen, it's a group of kids, it's a group of people that come and they have fun, they spend their money, they stay, they eat, they do everything here. We had some issues. We tried to address them with the police department. Chief Chidwood took care of them, but,
we want to keep that event going for forever.
Absolutely, Captain.
So we'll
Absolutely.
do whatever it takes to make that area as best as we possibly can.
Thank you very much,
that it?
Captain. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anybody else had any questions for Captain?
I have one comment
There you go.
about
Yes.
Seabreeze, and I know that's not on the Main Street CRA area, but between Peninsula and Halifax on the south side of Seabreeze, there's a couple of businesses there, get a pedicure, get your hair done. They have to keep their doors locked all the time, so even though if you go over there in the middle of the day, the door is locked, because if it isn't locked, there'll be somebody come in, it's not a homeless person, I don't think, but comes up and in the owner's face and demands money. And so they have to keep the doors locked all the time, and that's very unfortunate that they are running their business, and yet they can't have the door unlocked during the daytime because of not the homeless people just coming in and demanding money from them.
Well, this is why this time of the year, we have families walking around, we have families walking around, and they get bothered every 2 steps. And I have them on, I was there, I almost got into it where they start cursing the family because they don't give them.
They've done that to me.
Okay, so, like I said, the captain knows, he's been around, so he knows what we're
I'll
talking.
look into this one for you. That's the first I've ever heard of something like that, and that's very concerning to me. So we'll see what we can do about that. Anything else?
Nope. Cards and give them to them.
Please do. Please do.
Thank you very much, Captain. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Anybody has any comments? Anything? All right. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, before I say thank you, welcome, Amy. Welcome to the group.